Prologue. I had the perfect life. Or so I thought. We just won nationals, and I was the first Omega to take the ice for the Northern Howlers as starting left wing. Cameras flashed, the crowd howled, my name echoed through the rink. I thought that sound meant I'd finally made it. I had a boyfriend who said he loved me, a team that pretended to accept me, and a future that looked golden. Every night Silas would trace the mark at my neck and whisper, "You're the one who changed everything." I believed him. I believed in us. That summer was supposed to be a victory lap, the kind of golden stretch of time that felt endless. Training camps, interviews, the promise of a new season on the horizon. I sent Silas messages every day, stupid little things like pictures of the ice or the sunrise after practice. He always wrote back that he missed me, that he couldn't wait until I came home. I believed him. I pictured his arms waiting for me, his scent warm and familiar, his laughter filling the quiet spaces of my mind. But perfect lives are fragile things. They crack quietly at first, like thin ice underfoot, until one step too many sends everything collapsing beneath you. When I came back to university, the campus was still half asleep from summer break. The air smelled like rain and wet pavement, the streets quiet, my chest buzzing with the thrill of being back. I was a junior now, one season away from going pro, one step closer to everything I'd worked for. I held a small gift in my hands, something wrapped in blue paper, something that felt like hope. I thought I'd surprise Silas. I thought he'd smile. Instead, I opened the door to his dorm room, and the world tilted. The curtains were drawn, and the smell hit me before my eyes caught up. Silas's scent tangled with another's, an alpha's. Two Omegas together would never work, they said, and maybe they were right. The silk sheets were twisted, the air thick and humid. And there they were. Silas, flushed and trembling, his brown hair sticking to his forehead, his mouth still open from laughter. And above him, Luka. Cold eyes, steady breath. Every inch of him a reminder of what I wasn't. For a heartbeat, no one moved. The world shrank to the sound of my pulse hammering in my ears. That was the moment everything shattered. The alpha beside him, the one with ice in his veins and gold in his eyes, became the person I hated most. Or maybe the one I couldn't live without.
Introduction. This is an audiobook recording of Overtime with My Enemy, an hockey romance, written by J.K. Jones. This story blends passion, rivalry, and redemption, set in a world of werewolf shifters and fated mates. No part of this recording may be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted in any form without the written consent of the author. If you enjoy this story, please consider supporting the author by liking, commenting, and subscribing. You can also join the author's Patreon to help keep these stories alive and ongoing. Thank you for listening, and welcome to Overtime with My Enemy.
Chapter 1. Ari. When I was 9, my parents divorced. It was quiet at first, the kind of silence that fills every room, stretching between dinner plates and bedtime stories, until it becomes a wall you can't see past. When my father died a few years later, that silence hardened into something permanent. I learned early that love wasn't steady. It broke, it left, it vanished. Silas had seen me through all of that, through the funerals, the empty holidays, the nights I couldn't sleep. He was the one person who stayed when everyone else didn't. That was why I couldn't leave him. I couldn't even let myself think about it. Silas was my world, a strange thing to admit, but he was. We started as best friends, two Omegas who'd both been burned too many times. He'd just been dumped by another cheating alpha, and I'd just been ghosted by some online jerk who couldn't handle that. I was better at hockey than he was at texting. We sat in the dorm courtyard that night, crying and laughing, swearing we'd never fall for anyone again. Silas turned to me with red-rimmed eyes and said, "That's it. We'll just marry each other." I'd laughed through my own tears and agreed. It sounded ridiculous and safe, like the world couldn't hurt us if we chose each other first. Being two Omegas wasn't easy. We were both soft-spoken, both used to bending instead of breaking. But we figured it out. Toys, suppressants, and careful rhythms for when our heats hit hard. We made a life out of little things. Coffee at dawn before practice, shared playlists, matching wolf pendants we bought at a flea market. Love with an alpha always felt like standing too close to a storm. Beautiful, yes, but it always ended the same. Broken glass, apologies, and silence. So I swore off all alphas. I was happy. Or I told myself I was. But forever turned out to be too long for Silas. I realized that the day I came back early from summer training, rare orchids from my family's vineyard in Sicily were tucked under my arm. He loved orchids. Said their blooms reminded him of me. Delicate but hard to kill. I thought he'd smile when he saw them. Instead, I opened his door and smelled something wrong. It was too heavy, too warm. An alpha. Then I saw them. Silas was tangled in the sheets, naked and flushed. His dark brown hair stuck up in soft curls, his face round and gentle the way Omegas often looked. His cheeks were pink, eyes wide and wet like river stones. The smile he'd worn a second ago slipped away the moment he saw me. Luka stood over him, his skin slick with sweat, his dark hair almost black in the dim light. His cool hazel eyes, like forest moss at dawn, found mine. He didn't look shocked. He didn't look sorry. That made it worse. Silas's eyes filled with tears, his lips parting as if to speak, but no sound came. Luka just stared, calm and quiet, as though he had been waiting for this moment all along. I stood frozen in the doorway, the sound echoing in my head, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. I had been gone all summer, 2 whole months, and now I was back to find an alpha in my boyfriend's bed. An alpha who had just been with my boyfriend. The orchid slipped from my hand, petals scattering across the dorm floor like spilled blood. "Ari!" Silas gasped my name. My throat closed. The room spun. I'd spent months dreaming about coming home to him. Instead, I'd come home to this. And somewhere, under the crack of my breaking heart, a colder thought whispered, "This isn't the first time he's done this." For a second, I couldn't breathe. It wasn't just the scent. It was his scent, that ozone bite that clung to Luka after practice, the one that always made my wolf bristle. Now it filled every inch of the room, soaked into Silas's skin, into the sheets, into me. Silas scrambled upright, the sheet wrapped around his waist. "Ari, wait, this isn't..." I stepped back. My heel crushed one of the orchids, its stem snapping with a wet sound. My pulse was roaring in my ears. "Don't," I managed, my voice thin. "Don't say it's not what it looks like." Luka slid off the bed. He reached for his clothes but didn't defend himself. He just looked at me with the same icy calm he wore on the ice. Then he said quietly, "I'll go." He brushed past me, bare-chested, silent. The door clicked shut behind him, and the sound broke whatever was left of my restraint. "What the hell, Silas? What did you do?" My voice cracked. "Why him?" Silas's tears came fast. Too fast. He reached for me, face crumpling. He came onto me. I told him no, Ari. I told him we were together, but he wouldn't stop. He said he wanted to ruin us. "Stop." I backed away, my heart pounding. "You're lying." "I'm not." He dropped to his knees, clutching the sheet, the picture of devastation. "You know how he is. Luka hates Omegas. He wanted to humiliate me. To humiliate you. Don't you see? He used me to get to you." My wolf recoiled at the words, instincts tangling between rage and pity. Luka's face flashed in my mind. Still, cold, but not cruel. I wanted to believe Silas, but something in me stayed quiet and wary, the part that always sensed when danger wore a smile. He crawled forward, took my hands, pressed them to his chest. His heartbeat raced beneath my palms. "Ari, come, I love you. Please don't let him win. Please don't let him take you from me." Tears burned my eyes. I hated him. I loved him. I didn't know which feeling belonged to which wound. "Get dressed," I whispered. "We'll talk later." He nodded, relief flooding his face. "You're not leaving?" I said later. When I turned to go, he caught my wrist and leaned close enough for his scent to coat my skin. "He wanted to ruin you," Silas murmured. "Don't let him." I pulled free, stepped into the hallway and closed the door behind me. But even out there, with the door shut and the air cold, I could still smell him. Sweet, heavy, clinging. And beneath it, faint but steady, Luka's scent lingered like a question I didn't want answered. I didn't go home that night. I wandered the campus until the streetlights blinked off one by one, and the night felt heavy enough to swallow me. The cold helped. It froze the sound of Silas's voice in my head, froze the images I couldn't erase. By the time dawn broke, I'd convinced myself I could just pack my things and never come back. I had my own dorm room. I'd find a new dorm, keep my head down, and finish the season. It could be simple, clean. When I opened the door to my suite, Silas was already sitting on the couch. He looked wrecked, hair messy, hoodie pulled over his head, eyes swollen from crying. For one stupid heartbeat, relief hit me. He looked like my Silas again. He said softly, standing. You didn't come back last night. I needed space. I set my bag down. I don't want to fight. I know. He came closer, step by step, until I could feel the heat of him. I can't lose you. What happened? It wasn't what you think. I flinched. I saw you, Silas. He reached out, catching my hand before I could pull away. He kissed me first. I told him no. He didn't listen. You know how Luka gets. When he wants something, he takes it. I was scared. The words hit all the right places, my protective instincts, my fear, my love. But they didn't sound like him. Silas didn't scare easily. Still, my wolf stirred uneasily, torn between anger and pity. He pressed my palm to his cheek. Please, Ari, don't let him win. That's what he wants, to see us break. I swallowed hard. I can't talk about this now. I'll fix it, his voice cracked. I'll make it right, I swear. I'll go to Coach. I'm an Omega, a helpless Omega. He took advantage of me. I'll tell Coach everything, just don't hate me, okay? Hate him? I didn't even know how to feel anything yet. He stepped closer and wrapped his arms around me before I could react. His scent, sweet, soft, Omega warm, wrapped around my head, dulling thought, pulling me into that old, familiar safety. My heartbeat slowed against his chest. My mind blurred. Just like that, the edges of the betrayal began to fade. I love you, he whispered into my hair. He doesn't. He never could. And when he kissed my forehead, I didn't push him away. I wanted to. I should have. But the part of me that still wanted to believe in forever couldn't let go. By Monday morning, Silas was radiant again. The same Silas everyone adored. The team's golden Omega, the one who smiled through every loss, who could calm even the roughest alpha with a word. The gossip that should have destroyed him didn't even stick. If anything, it bounced right off that disarming charm of his. By the time I made it to the rink, people were already talking. Not about the betrayal. Not about me. About how brave Silas was. Someone said he'd stood up to Luka, that he'd turned down the captain's advances and gotten punished for it. Another whispered that Luka had been suspended because of me. It was like watching my own memories, rewritten in real time. Every word that came out of their mouths sounded like a lie wearing my face. Silas spotted me across the locker room, eyes lighting up like we were still the perfect couple. He crossed the distance easily, graceful, unbothered. Hey, sweetheart. He said it casually like nothing had ever happened, his voice low enough that only I could hear. Then he brushed his fingers along my arm, a subtle sweep of scent marking, territorial and warm. I stiffened. Silas not here. He just smiled, all honey and confidence. Why not? Everyone knows we're together. Then louder, so the rest of the room could hear. You ready for practice, babe? Coach said we might get a line change. A few of the guys grinned, others teased. Lovebirds back at it again, someone called. Silas laughed easily, soaking in the attention, and for a moment even I almost believed it, that we were fine, that the past few days hadn't happened. That's what made him dangerous. He could twist a story into something beautiful before anyone noticed the knife beneath. After practice, he waited for me in the hallway with his book bags. He looked like the perfect Omega. Dark brown hair that always fell just right. Chocolate eyes that caught the light, soft and delicate in a way that made people stop and stare. When he spoke, everyone listened. How had I never noticed it before? Silas wasn't even on the hockey team, but every player treated him like he was the team's good luck charm, their unofficial mascot. He wore slow, easy jeans, a jacket that hung loose around his small frame, and that same smug smile that always made me wonder, was he my boyfriend, or was I his? "You handled it perfectly," he murmured, stepping close. "Handled what?" "The team," he said, smirking faintly. "You didn't contradict them." "That's good. It keeps us safe." "Safe from what, Silas?" His eyes softened, his voice dipping into that quiet, careful tone he used when he wanted me pliant. "From Luka. From everyone who wants to ruin what we have." He leaned in, breath brushing my ear. "I won't let anyone touch you again." His fingers grazed my neck, leaving a faint sheen of his scent there, an invisible chain only wolves could feel, warm, familiar, suffocating. When I finally got back to my dorm that night, I stood in the shower until the water ran cold, trying to wash his scent off my skin. It didn't come off. And for the first time, a thought whispered through the steam. Maybe I wasn't the one who needed protecting. Maybe I was the one who needed saving, from him. Chapter 2, Ari. By the time I made it to practice, Silas was already there. He was standing by the boards like he belonged there, chatting with Coach about mental health initiatives for athletes. He wasn't even on the team anymore, but Silas had a way of making himself indispensable wherever he went. Coach laughed at something he said, clapped him on the shoulder. And just like that, the story was rewritten again. Silas, the brave survivor. Luka, the dangerous alpha. Me, the loyal boyfriend, holding everything together. What the hell was wrong with me? Who catches their boyfriend cheating and barely says anything? Who walks in on their best friend and boyfriend of a year? The one who promised forever, who swore he'd never hurt me, and just stands there? I didn't even cry about it. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just went quiet. And then I kept going, like it hadn't happened. Like I couldn't still see Silas grinning up at Luka, wrapped in his arms after making love in his dorm room. His bed. Our bed. I went away for 2 months and came back to find everything different. No, everyone was different, except me. I was still pretending nothing had changed, even though the truth was burning a hole straight through me. When I walked in, Silas's face lit up with that perfect smile, the one that made people forgive him before they even knew what he'd done. "There he is," he said, his voice carrying across the ice. "My lucky charm." A few of the players turned, smirking. "Didn't know we had a team mascot," someone muttered. Another added, "Bet he keeps you warm during road trips, huh?" Silas laughed, a bright, easy sound. "Oh, you have no idea." Everyone laughed with him. I tried to smile, but my throat felt tight. My instincts screamed to get away, but he looped his arm through mine before I could move. "Don't look so tense, baby," he whispered, teeth grazing the word. "You'll make them think something's wrong." I swallowed hard. "Something is wrong." He squeezed my arm just a little too tight. "Not if you keep your mouth shut." The words were soft, buried under his public laughter, but they landed like a slap. When practice started, I stayed in the bleachers, clutching my thermos and pretending to scroll through my phone. That's when Luka walked in. The rink went quiet for half a second. Not fear exactly, but respect edged with unease. He moved like a storm trapped in a human body, every line of him controlled. His eyes found Silas first, then flicked to me. I swore I'd never fall for another alpha. And yet the moment Luka looked at me, the air shifted. And I hated how my heart betrayed me for it. That was all. No greeting, no expression, just a glance that lasted one heartbeat too long. Silas's grip tightened on my thigh, nails biting through my jeans. "Don't," he whispered, lips still curved in a smile for anyone watching. "Don't what?" "Look at him. That's what he wants." But I couldn't help it. Luka was impossible not to watch. He stood on the ice like he owned it, barking out drills. The others responded instantly, drawn to that authority of the alpha, even if they resented it. When the puck hit the boards near me, I flinched. Luka glanced up, just a flick of gold eyes, a subtle tilt of his head. And in that moment, I knew. He'd seen everything. Not just the way Silas hovered. Not just the way I shrank beneath his touch, but the truth. The rot under the perfect smile. He didn't say a word. He didn't have to. When practice ended, Luka skated to the edge of the rink, pausing near where I sat. He tugged off one glove and pressed his palm briefly against the glass separating us, fingers spread, eyes steady. It wasn't an invitation, it was a warning. Or maybe a promise. Either way, Silas saw it too. And for the first time, I saw something flicker behind that perfect composure of his. Fear. The rink had always been my sanctuary. Cold air, clean lines, the sound of skates carving through ice, predictable, but safe and simple. But today, every scrape of a blade sounded like a threat. Luka was back as captain, and the atmosphere was different. Like the air itself was watching. He didn't say a word when I stepped onto the ice, just motioned for me to take my position. The team circled, waiting. The coach blew the whistle, and the first drill began. The passes came fast, too fast. Luka's shots hit like a sniper's, each one cutting and punishing. Every time the puck slammed into my stick, my palm stung. Because this wasn't just hockey for me. It wasn't just a game. I was the only Omega on the team, the first one our division had ever accepted. Every time I stepped onto the ice, I felt the weight of that fact pressing against my shoulders. Every glare, every whisper, every "you don't belong here" stuck like splinters under my skin. So I played harder, faster, meaner when I had to. If I wanted to keep my spot, I couldn't afford to make mistakes. If I wanted to keep my scholarship, I couldn't afford to break. The ice was the only place that made sense anymore. Out here, it didn't matter who was alpha or omega. The puck didn't care. The game didn't care. For 60 minutes, I got to be more than a body people wanted to claim or control. I got to be someone. Again, he barked. I sent it back. He caught it and fired it harder. Again. The rhythm built. Pass, pivot, strike, until the sound of the puck hitting the boards echoed like gunfire. My breath came out in white clouds. My arms burned. I wanted to quit, but something in Luka's expression kept me going. He wasn't angry, not exactly. He was testing me. "No," he said quietly, his tone slicing deeper than a shout ever could. "You're apologizing. You play scared. You're weak." My jaw clenched. "If I'm so weak, maybe you should stop hiding behind the word captain and admit you're just a bully." He smirked. "A bully? You think I have to bully you to beat you?" "Seems like you already got a taste of that," I snapped. "Or do you only pick fights when the other guy's half your size?" Something dark flickered in his eyes. "Careful, Rivers. You're shaking." "Yeah? Maybe it's the stench of your guilt." That wiped the smirk right off his face. For a heartbeat, neither of us moved. The air between us was heavy, burning. Then he said, "You don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, I think I do." My breath came fast now, fogging between us. "You don't want anyone to know, do you? That the captain of the Howlers couldn't keep his hands off my boyfriend?" His eyes flashed, bright gold under the rink lights, but his voice stayed calm. "Watch it." "Why?" I hissed. "Because it's true?" He grabbed my stick, pushing it down hard between us, his jaw tight. "You think you know everything, but you don't. You don't know what he told me. You don't know what he said about you." The words hit like a slap. For a second, the noise of the rink vanished, the shouts, the blades, the whistle. It was just us, chest to chest, the ice humming beneath our skates. Then Coach's voice shattered the tension. "Enough." Luka released my stick and skated backward, his eyes still locked on mine. His voice dropped low as he passed. "Stay out of my way, Rivers. You're not ready for the truth." And just like that, he was gone, leaving me standing there in the middle of the rink, heart pounding, the realization cutting deeper than any insult. He wasn't ashamed because he'd been caught. He was scared because Silas had lied to both of us. The words hit harder than any check. For a second, it wasn't Luka standing there. It was Silas. The same look, the same weight pressing down until I wanted to disappear. I realized how often I'd said sorry just to keep someone else calm. My chest tightened. Coach blew the whistle again, calling for a line change, but Luka didn't move. He just stood there, eyes still locked on mine, his scent calm and grounding. Why the hell did I care about his centos much? Especially since he'd slept with my boyfriend. "You're stronger when you stop apologizing," he murmured. Then he skated away, leaving me alone at center ice, breathless and shaken. I didn't move for a long time. Not until the next drill started, and the puck hit my stick again, hard enough to sting. But when I looked up, Luka wasn't looking at me anymore. He didn't have to. The words he'd left behind were enough to rattle something loose inside me, something I hadn't realized was trapped. When I got back from practice, the apartment smelled like lavender and smoke, Silas's favorite candle burning low on the counter. The table was set for two: pasta, wine. His way of saying, "I forgive you," before I'd even had the chance to figure out what I'd done wrong. He didn't look up when I came in, just twirled his fork, calm and unbothered, as if nothing had happened. He looked beautiful in that quiet, deliberate way only he could pull off. His dark brown hair curled slightly at the edges, catching the soft glow from the candlelight. His skin looked smooth and warm, his mouth soft, the corner of his lips curved in that practiced faint smile that could melt anyone's guard. The shadows played along his jaw, and for a moment, I forgot how much he'd hurt me. An ache bloomed deep in my chest, slow at first, then spreading like heat. It was the kind of ache that came from loving someone who knew exactly how to use it against you. I wanted to hate him. I really did. But standing there, watching him lift his glass like nothing had broken between us, all I could think was how beautiful he looked, and how much it still hurt to love him. "You were late," he said. "Practice ran long." With Luka back? His tone was light, conversational, but the air tightened. I poured water instead of wine. "Yeah, Coach wanted full ice drills." Silas smiled without warmth. "And you didn't think to text?" I didn't have my phone on the ice. He set his fork down with a soft clink. "You used to text me before practice. Or after. You used to tell me how your day went." A pause, then softer. "Are you tired of me, Ari?" My stomach nodded. "No, of course not." "Good." He stood, smoothed his hands down my arms, fixed the collar of my hoodie. "Then act like it." "I'm sorry. You know I'm sorry. It just happened. I hate myself for it." The words were whispered, almost tender, but they sliced all the same. Dinner was a performance after that. He asked about practice, the drills, the plays, the new strategies. Then he started correcting me, the way I described them, the words I used, the way I chewed. Every time I tried to relax, his hand found mine, an apology disguised as affection. When I reached for my phone to check the team chat, he took it gently from my hand. "You're online too much," he said, sliding it into his pocket. "You need focus. If you lose that spot, what would your father think?" "I am focused," I said quietly. He smiled. "You remember what the handbook says, right? Section 4. Omegas must maintain professional boundaries with all teammates to prevent distractions or misunderstandings." He said it like he was quoting scripture. "You worked too hard to get here. Your scholarship depends on your record. You know that. And if you lost it..." He paused, watching me. "What would your father think?" The words hit harder than I expected. My throat went tight. Dad had been gone 3 years, and I still caught myself reaching for the phone sometimes, still half expecting to hear his voice. He never got to see me make the team, never got to see me play at nationals. Hockey had been our thing, the one thing that made sense when nothing else did. Silas's hand brushed mine. "He'd be disappointed if you threw that away." I nodded before I could stop myself, guilt twisting in my stomach. He smiled, turning off the kitchen light. The lavender candle burned low, sweet and heavy in the dark. "Come to bed," he said softly. "You can't afford distractions." His features were gentle, almost too gentle, the kind that made you want to forgive him even before he spoke. His dark lashes framed eyes the color of melted amber, glassy and wet, like they could drown you if you stared too long. As I followed him, I thought about my father's old jersey still folded in the back of my drawer. How proud he'd be, or how ashamed. And for the first time, I couldn't tell which hurt more. Chapter 3. Ari. I couldn't make love to Silas. No amount of coaxing or begging on his part helped. The more he touched me, the more my skin pulled away. His scent, lavender and smoke, once made me feel safe. Now it made me sick. Silas's face always looked young and frightened, lips trembling, color high in his cheeks. His brown eyes glistened under the low light, bright and wet, like river stones glinting beneath a current. He didn't understand, or maybe he refused to. He'd kiss my neck, whisper that we just needed time, that we could fix it, that love didn't just vanish overnight. But it had, at least for me. The sight of him, his soft smile, his careful voice, the way he pretended everything was normal, filled me with a quiet, ugly kind of disgust. And yet I stayed, because I was too tired to leave, because he'd been everything once, my home, my anchor, the person who held me together when my world fell apart. Even after my father died, Silas was there for me, my best friend. How do you walk away from that? I wished I could be like the others, the Omegas who knew when enough was enough, who cheated first or left before they were left. But I couldn't stomach it, the thought of throwing away what we had made my chest ache. So I stayed, and pretended. By midweek, the whispers had already started. They drifted across the locker room like smoke, thin, poisonous, impossible to contain. You never heard who started them, just the echoes they left behind. Guess Luka likes them soft. Heard he couldn't get over the last one. Must have a thing for Omegas who already belong to someone. Every laugh that followed sounded like a blade sliding between my ribs. I kept my head down, tying my skates too tight just to have something to focus on. The laces bit into my fingers until my nails went white. I told myself I didn't care. I told myself they'd forget by next week. But then I heard my own name. Rivers, right? The new favorite? Looks like history's repeating itself. Guess Silas wasn't enough for him either. The laughter this time was crueler. My stomach twisted. The walls felt too close. I looked up just in time to see Luka walking through the double doors, gear slung over one shoulder. His dark hair was still damp from the shower, curling slightly at the edges, and his pale blue eyes caught my breath. The team's chatter faltered as soon as he stepped inside. No one taunted him directly. They never did. The jersey clung to him in all the right places, stretching over broad shoulders and a chest built from years of discipline and control. He carried himself like someone who didn't need to demand attention. He already had it. For a moment, the sight of him knocked the air out of me. Images I didn't want came rushing back. Luka's hands on Silas, his body moving over him, their laughter soft and familiar. My chest tightened. The sting hit fast, and I had to look away before anyone saw the anguish rising behind my eyes. He stopped near his locker, glancing toward me once before stripping off his gloves. His expression didn't change, but I caught the flicker of something in his eyes. A quiet warning. Don't engage, don't let them win. But I couldn't help it. The words had already burrowed under my skin. Is it true? I blurted, too loud, too desperate. Luka turned. Is what true? That there was something between you and Silas before me. The room went silent. Even the sound of sticks against the floor stilled. Luka didn't move closer, but his voice softened, the way snow does before it falls. People say a lot of things when they're bored, Rivers. That's not an answer. He held my gaze for a long moment, then quietly, no, and you won't get one. I wanted to demand more, to drag the truth out of him, but Coach's whistle cut through the air and broke the moment. Everyone moved. The noise returned. Luka walked past me without another word. But as he did, the faint scent of pine and frost brushed against me again. Grounding, steady. And I realized something Silas had never wanted me to notice. Luka didn't need to defend himself. He didn't need to prove his innocence or deny the rumors, because the truth was simple, and somehow I could smell it. He wasn't the one lying. I was surrounded by voices, but for the first time I wasn't sure which of them belonged to me. The next day the rink felt colder than usual. Frost webbed across the plexiglass, breath smoked in front of every mouth, and every sound hit like a gunshot in the hollow air. Coach had decided today was full contact. Translation: open season. We lined up for drills, pairs across the blue line. Luka's whistle hung around his neck, and when his eyes met mine, I felt it again. That strange calm that wasn't calm at all, just pressure right before the ice cracks. I was the only Omega in a sea of alphas, but I held my own. Every shove, every hit, every challenge only made me dig in harder. Out here, the ice didn't care what I was, only if I could survive it. "Keep your head up," he said. The puck dropped. I caught it, spun, and immediately took a shoulder from one of the defensemen, Merrick, built like a wall and twice as subtle. My balance wavered, blades screaming across the ice. Before I could recover, he came at me again, stick low and mean. "Easy," I barked. He didn't ease. The third hit was deliberate, high, aimed for my ribs. Pain burst through me, hard enough to steal my breath. I hit the boards hard enough that the world blurred. And then there was another sound, metal on metal, a snarl that didn't belong to the game. Luka. He'd crossed the rink in a heartbeat, slammed Marek against the boards with a crack that silenced the entire team. His helmet hit the glass. Luka's hand was on his chest, pressing just enough to make the air wheeze out of him. "You hit him like that again," Luka said quietly, "and I'll forget we're teammates." Marek's eyes widened. It was a drill. Then learn the difference between a drill and a target. Coach's whistle split the air. "Luka! Back the hell up. Why are you all standing around? Keep it moving." But Luka didn't move until I managed to push myself off the boards. "Enough!" I gasped. "I'm fine." He turned then, breathing hard through his teeth. When his gaze landed on me, the fury drained out, replaced by something else. Worry, maybe. Something that made my chest feel too small. "You're bleeding," he said. I looked down. A thin cut across my jaw, probably from the plexi edge. Not much, but the way his voice softened made it feel worse. I said I'm fine. He skated closer, lowering his voice. "You don't have to keep saying that. I do when you keep acting like I'm not." For a second, neither of us moved. Just the sound of the ice settling beneath our skates, our breaths turning to fog between us. Then softly, like it cost him something to admit it, "You shouldn't let people hit you and think they can get away with it." "That your job now?" I snapped. "Protecting me?" "Someone should, and it sure as hell isn't going to be your boyfriend." The whistle blew again. Coach barked for a reset. Luka stepped back, his expression shuddered. "Head up next time, Rivers," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. But the look he gave me as he turned away wasn't a captain's order. It was a warning, or a promise. I couldn't tell which. The rest of practice blurred. Every pass, every stride, my ribs throbbing in time with the words I couldn't forget. Someone should. Afterward, in the locker room, I caught a glimpse of Marek avoiding Luka's eyes. Nobody mentioned the hit. Nobody mentioned the sound that slipped out of Luka's throat right before he'd grabbed him. A low growl that didn't belong here. A warning growl from a mate, from an alpha whose Omega had been touched. When I pulled off my gear, my skin was still buzzing, heart still hammering. And under the burn of pain and adrenaline was something worse. The realization that, for the first time, I didn't know who scared me more, Silas or Luka. By the time I got back to the apartment, my ribs throbbed with every breath. The bruise would bloom by morning, dark, ugly, a reminder of just how hard I'd hit the boards. All I wanted was a shower and quiet. Instead, I opened the door to find Silas sitting cross-legged on the couch, phone in hand, a glass of wine already half empty. He didn't look up right away. He just said too calmly, "How was practice?" "Fine." Lie. I should have known better. Silas always smelled lies before I finished them. He turned his head slowly, eyes finding the mark on my jaw. "You're bleeding." "It's nothing." He stood, voice tightening. He did this, didn't he? Luka, it wasn't. Don't lie to me. The outburst cracked the air like thunder. The glass in his hand trembled before he set it down too carefully. I saw the messages, Ari. People are talking about him defending you. You think I don't notice how he looks at you? My throat closed. He stopped a bad hit, that's all. I didn't ask him to. That's what he wants you to think. His words came out fast and practiced. That he's protecting you. That he's better than me. He started pacing, agitation bleeding into every movement. He's been obsessed since before you even joined the team. He'll use you the same way he used me. I blinked, pulse racing. What are you talking about? He froze. The mask slipped for just a second, something cold flickering beneath the charm. Then he smiled again, soft, broken, familiar. Nothing. Forget it. His voice cracked. I can't lose you too. That too sat heavy in the air, a landmine between us. He stepped closer, took my face in his hands. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to yell. Then, quieter. I know you don't see it yet, but he's dangerous, Ari. He ruins people. He ruined me. My heart stumbled. Silas. He kissed me before I could finish, desperate, claiming. His lips tasted like wine and desperation. His hand slid down my neck, over my chest, stopping just above the bruise on my ribs. He pressed, not hard, just enough to make me flinch. You see? He murmured. He hurts you, and I'm the one who has to pick up the pieces. I pulled back, breath shaking. You're hurting me right now. That startled him. For a heartbeat, he just stared, eyes wide. Then he laughed, a short, brittle sound that didn't belong to the man I thought I loved. You're being dramatic, he said lightly, patting my cheek like I was a child. You always are when you're tired. He walked away before I could answer, heading for the kitchen. The sound of the wine bottle uncorking echoed like a sigh. I'll make dinner, he called. You should shower. You'll feel better once you calm down. But I didn't move. I just stood there, hand pressed to the bruise on my side, trying to remember when worry had started to sound so much like ownership. The rink was nearly empty by the time I finished extra drills. Most of the Northern Howlers had already cleared out, leaving only the sound of melting ice dripping through the boards and the steady hum of the fluorescent lights overhead. I stayed behind to breathe, or maybe to think. Both felt impossible lately. I pulled off my skates, flexing my sore ankles, and sat there staring at the marks on my hands where the tape had rubbed my skin raw. They looked like small bruises, nothing compared to the ones on my ribs, but somehow they hurt worse. Silas's words kept needling under my skin. Luka wanted you before you even joined the team. What was that supposed to mean? Luka hadn't known me back then. I'd been a junior, new to the university, barely keeping my grades up, still trying to breathe after my father died. I didn't know anyone, except Silas. He'd been the first to talk to me, the first to care. So how could Luka have wanted me before any of that? Before he even knew who I was? The thought lingered, cold and heavy, as I sat on the edge of the Northern Howlers rink, the ice melting beneath me and the question burning holes in my chest. A door opened behind me. The sound was quiet, steady, not rushed. Luka. He didn't say my name, just moved past the benches, grabbed a towel, and started unwrapping the tape from his wrists. The silence between us wasn't awkward. It was too heavy for that. I tried to stand, but his voice stopped me. Sit. Luka's jaw was tense, his face shadowed by the light. His eyes were steady and pale, like the forest at dawn, muted green and gray, calm in a way that didn't match the ruin around him. It wasn't a command. It was a suggestion that carried weight anyway. I sat. Silas is toxic, he said after a long moment. My stomach turned. You don't know what you're talking about. I do. He tossed the tape into the bin, his voice calm but tight. Because he acted the same way to me. The words froze me. I turned slowly. What? Luka leaned against the lockers, arms folded, eyes on the floor, When Silas and I were together, he was charming, helpful. Everyone loved him. He made sure they did. And then he started with the small things, little corrections, doubt, guilt, isolation. I couldn't breathe. You're lying. He finally looked up. Am I? His gaze was steady, too steady for a lie. He said the same things to me that he's saying to you now. That I was dangerous, that I was the problem, that he was just worried. Luka's jaw tightened. And when I finally saw what he was doing, he made sure I couldn't tell anyone without sounding crazy. My hands shook. I clenched them in my lap. He told me you... I know what he told you. Luka stepped closer, stopping just a few feet away. And you believed him, because that's what he's good at. He builds his world so perfectly you don't notice when he starts taking pieces of you to keep it standing. I looked down. If what you're saying is true, why didn't you stop him? I tried. He crouched in front of me now, eyes level with mine. But he's good at surviving. He twists fear into loyalty until you don't know which is which. I didn't see it until it was too late. I wanted to laugh. Just who the hell do you think you are? Silas is my best friend, my boyfriend, who cheated on me with you. Do you think I'll take anything you say seriously? Do you think you have any credibility left? I know you know something's wrong, he said quietly, and you can't stomach it. I'm a piece of trash, I know that. I shouldn't have slept with him. I didn't even want to. He said he needed me. Luka said. He called me Alpha. Said he'd talk to you for me. My breath hitched. There it was again. Silas's ugly words echoing back at me. He wanted you before you ever joined the team. It was a lie. It had to be, right? Something in me broke. Not loudly, but like ice cracking under a skate blade. I wanted to deny it, to protect the illusion that Silas still loved me, but Luka's scent, that clean, grounding calm, made it impossible to lie to myself anymore. Why are you telling me this? I whispered. Because you're starting to sound like I did right before he ruined me. Oh yeah? And how exactly are you ruined? I spat. Captain of the Northern Howlers, every Omega at your beck and call, even the taken ones. Luka's eyes flashed, bright yellow and wild. He bared his teeth, his alpha just beneath the surface. He destroyed my reputation. Everyone thinks I took advantage of him, that I forced him, he said. Do you know how sick that makes me feel? An alpha who can't control himself? What if the rumors don't die? I could lose everything, my career, my team. I could go to prison for this crap. My heart pounded. I hadn't realized how bad it was. How Silas's lies weren't just poison. They were wildfire. Luka ran a hand through his hair, trembling with anger. The Omega Protection Bureau is already involved. They've opened a case against me. He gave a bitter laugh. You know what that means? They're sending investigators, counselors, even scent analysts. They think I'm some kind of predator. He looked at me then, eyes hard but wet around the edges. I can't fix this on my own, Ari. He's not just trying to hurt me. He's trying to destroy both of us. He stood, the distance between us a heartbeat wide. Get out before he decides he owns you completely. And then he was gone, the door slamming shut behind him, leaving the echo to rattle through the empty rink. Silas was my best friend. I knew him inside and out. He wouldn't. Why did he do this to me? I sat there long after, trembling, Luka's words playing over and over in my head. He builds his world so perfectly you don't notice when he starts taking pieces of you to keep it standing. When I finally gathered my things, I realized I was crying. Not because I didn't believe Luka, but because I did. Chapter 4, Ari. The air inside the arena was electric. The boards gleamed under the lights, the cold biting through my pads as I stepped onto the ice. The crowd was louder than I'd ever heard, voices blending into a single roar that rattled through my chest. My mother was somewhere in the stands. I didn't have to look to know. I could feel her there, her pride reaching me even through the noise. Our first official game of the season, my first as an Omega on the Northern Howlers. Merrick, one of our defensemen, skated past and muttered just loud enough for me to hear, "Try not to faint, Rivers. Wouldn't want the Omega to bruise." A few of the others snickered. I tightened my grip on the stick, forcing myself to breathe. Let them talk. They didn't think I belonged here. Fine. I'd show them. The whistle blew. The puck dropped. I barely had time to breathe before the first check came. One of their alpha forwards, huge, fast, all muscle, slammed into me, shoulder first, sending a shock through my chest. My vision sparked white for half a heartbeat, but I kept my balance, driving forward. The puck slid free from the scuffle at center ice, spinning across the blue line. I chased it down, heart pounding. The cold air sliced against my face, and every breath burned. My stick hit the puck clean, a solid crack that echoed through the arena. "Watch your left!" Merrick shouted something behind me, but the warning came too late. Another defender cut in, blades hissing over the ice, and slammed me against the boards. The impact rattled my ribs, but I refused to go down. "Get up, keep moving, don't let them see you break." The puck ricocheted away, bouncing off a Howler's stick and back into play. The crowd roared. I couldn't tell for who. We were locked in a grind, no space to breathe, no chance to think. Every pass was intercepted, every hit harder than the last. I was fighting to stay on my feet, fighting to stay seen. Being the only Omega on the ice meant every glance, every shove, came with extra weight. They wanted to make me a target. They wanted me to prove them right, that Omegas didn't belong here. But I wasn't giving them that satisfaction. When the puck came my way again, I caught it on the backhand and pushed forward, cutting between two defenders before they could trap me. For one perfect second, I saw open ice, clean, white, endless. My lungs screamed, my muscles burned, and I smiled, because for all the pain, all the noise, all the doubt, this was where I belonged. By the end of the second, the scoreboard glared 2-2. The Northern Howlers bench buzzed, breath hanging in the cold air. During the timeout, Luka skated up beside me. "You've got this, Rivers. Don't let them push you around." "I wasn't planning to," I shot back. He laughed once, rough, real, and tapped his stick against mine. "Good." The whistle screamed. Third period. The puck dropped. I crouched low, ready. It bounced once, twice, and I was moving, shoulder to shoulder with an alpha twice my size. He tried to shove me off balance. I ducked under his arm, stealing the puck with a twist of my stick. It smacked against the blade with a sound like thunder. I exploded down the center line. One defender closed in from the left. I faked, letting him commit, then cut hard right, the edge of my skate biting deep. Ice sprayed in an arc behind me. Another defender lunged. I felt his elbow graze my side, pain blooming under my ribs, but I stayed upright. "Go!" Luka's voice tore through the roar of the crowd. I crossed the blue line, drawing the goalie's attention. He crouched, pads wide, eyes locked on me. My lungs burned, my heart hammered, every breath a knife of cold air. I lifted my stick, feinted a high shot, then dropped my shoulder and flicked low. The puck slipped under his blocker, kissing the inside of the post before sliding into the net. For half a second, silence. Then the horn blared and the arena detonated in sound. "We won!" Someone screamed. "We won!" The crowd rose to its feet. The glass shook, my vision blurred from the adrenaline. I'd done it. Then Luka came crashing into me, laughing so hard he could barely stand. His arms went around me, and before I could react, the rest of the team piled on, yelling, shouting, slapping helmets and sticks. I looked up, dazed, through the spray of ice and noise. My mother and Silas were on their feet in the stands, clapping through tears. For once, I didn't care what anyone else thought. Not Marek, not the whispers, not the doubts. We'd done it. Our first game, our first win. And in that moment, and with Luka's laughter in my ear and the crowd chanting our names, I almost believed everything would be okay. Snow had started falling by the time I left the rink. I ignored Silas's calls and the texts from my mother. I just couldn't face them, not after tonight. We'd won, but I knew the moment I saw Silas, it would turn sour. The campus was quiet, streetlights glowed like halos, and the air stung my skin. I should have gone straight home, but my feet didn't listen. They carried me toward the side lot, where Luka's truck sat idling beneath the storm. Something strange was building inside me, a warmth that turned into pressure, a pulse deep in my stomach. Every time Luka looked at me, it stirred. Every time I smelled him, that clean mix of pine and cold air, it grew stronger. It wasn't just want, it wasn't even yearning. It was need. Omega and Omega relationships never lasted. We always needed an alpha to ground us, to balance us when things got hard. Could Luka be that alpha? The thought shouldn't have even crossed my mind, but it did, and it burned. Despite everything, I still loved Silas. I really did, even if his love was made of thorns. He was waiting. I don't know if it was for me or if fate was just cruel enough to line us up again. He rolled down the window. "You walk home in this?" I shrugged, wasn't planning on freezing to death. He unlocked the door with a sigh. "Get in." The truck smelled like him. Clean, cold air, and something wild underneath, like pine bark after rain. My wolf settled immediately, instincts melting the tension out of my shoulders before my mind caught up. Luka's eyes found mine in the dark. We didn't speak for a while. The windshield wipers dragged slow arcs through the falling snow. It was peaceful, in a way I hadn't felt in months. Then Luka said quietly, "He called me last night." My stomach dropped. "Silas?" He nodded, left a message, said if I didn't stop interfering, he'd make sure Coach benched you. I turned toward him, heart pounding. "He wouldn't." Luka exhaled slowly, eyes still fixed on the rink doors. "He would," he said. "You know he would. He's escalating, Ari. You need to start thinking about what happens if he doesn't stop." I frowned. "What do you mean?" He hesitated before answering. "There's something called Omega instability syndrome. Happens when an Omega goes too long without a stabilizing scent or bond. Their instincts start to turn on them. Memory, reason, all of it. It's like their body doesn't know what's real anymore." I swallowed hard. "You think that's what's happening to Silas?" "I think," Luka said quietly, "he's trying to drag you down with him before it does." I looked down at my hands, pale against my jeans. What am I supposed to do? He's everything I know. Luka's fingers tightened on the steering wheel. Then it's time to learn something else. The words hung there like a guillotine. When I didn't answer, he exhaled and turned the engine off. The silence that followed was deafening. He shifted toward me. "Look at me." I did. Slowly, like it hurt. Our eyes met, and something inside me gave way. The wolf in me, the part I'd been burying under Silas's rules and words, stirred awake. Luka's scent filled the cab, steady, grounding, impossibly calm. My breath hitched. The space between us felt too small. "You don't have to be afraid," he said softly. "Not of him. Not of yourself." He reached out, hand trembling just enough to betray the calm in his voice. His fingertips brushed my jaw, the faintest touch, gentle, almost reverent. The reaction was instant. My wolf surged forward, scent flaring, heat curling low in my stomach. I gasped before I could stop it. Luka froze. His eyes darkened, pupils blown wide, but he didn't move closer. He just whispered, "Ari." "I know," I said quickly, pulling back. My heart hammered. "I know." The air between us crackled with everything unsaid, fear, longing, the dangerous knowledge that something real was beginning to form between us. Luka drew a shaky breath and dropped his hand. "I'm sorry." He started the engine again, the sound breaking the spell. We drove the rest of the way in silence, but when he dropped me off at my building and I turned to say goodbye, I saw it, that faint shimmer in his eyes, half light, half instinct. His wolf was awake too. And for the first time since I'd met him, I wasn't afraid of what that meant. The apartment was dark when I came in. No music, no candles, just shadows. "Silas?" I called softly. Silence. For a moment I thought he'd gone out. Relief bloomed in my chest, the kind that came when I was finally alone, when I could just breathe. Then a voice came from the corner. "You smell different." I froze. Silas was sitting in the armchair by the window, one leg crossed over the other, a half-empty wine glass dangling from his fingers. The dim streetlight cut across his face, catching the edges of a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Your mom left. I told her you were busy, celebrating with the team, and that you forgot to text. I lied to her, for you." "I didn't ask you to do that," I stiffened. "You don't ask for much these days, except from your new alpha." "What do you mean?" I managed. He set the glass down slowly. "You've been with him." My heart stuttered. "We won the game and he drove me home." "That's not what I meant." His tone was soft, lilting, but the sweetness was gone. What remained was hard enough to bleed on. He stood, moving toward me, his bare feet whispering against the floor. "You think I wouldn't notice?" I took a step back. "You're being paranoid." He laughed, a small, quiet sound that made the hairs on my arms stand up. "Paranoid? You forget who you're talking to, love. I can smell him on you." He leaned close, inhaling near my neck. Pine. Cold air. Him. I jerked away, heart racing. "Silas, stop." He caught my wrist, not hard but unyielding. "What's happening to you, Ari?" "You used to be mine. You used to listen." "I'm still me," I said. "No." His grip tightened. "You're not. He's changing you. You didn't even come to see me and your mother after the game." "I'm allowed to talk to people," I snapped, yanking free. "He's my captain, not my—" "Not your what?" he snapped. "Not your alpha? Look at you, you're so pathetic." Dripping wet at the thought of him, my chest went cold. "Don't start this crap again." "Oh, I think I should." Silas took a step closer, that calm smile curving like a knife. "You forget, I know you. Better than anyone. I know what happens when you start playing innocent. You act sweet, quiet, fragile. Then suddenly you're the one tangled up with him." My throat tightened. "What are you talking about?" His eyes gleamed. "Don't lie to me, Ari. You think I don't see it? The way you look at him? The way he looks at you?" He laughed softly, shaking his head. "You slept with him, didn't you?" "Luka. That's why you've been so defensive. That's why you're pretending to hate him." "That's not true, isn't it?" The way he said it, so gentle, so sure, made my stomach twist. He was good at this. Too good. Every word was a trap, every pause a place for me to hang myself. He stepped closer, his scent wrapping around me, warm and suffocating. His thumb brushed my lower lip like a promise and a threat all at once. "I'm sorry," he murmured, his voice trembling just enough to sound real. "I didn't mean to yell. I hate when you lie to me." His other hand slipped behind my neck, fingers threading through my hair. "You've been on edge lately. You forget to eat. You forget your pills. You forget us." My breath caught. "Silas, I just want to take care of you," he whispered. "Is that so wrong?" I wanted to pull away, to scream, to tell him I wasn't his anymore, but the words stuck in my throat. His scent, sweet and heavy, wrapped around me like smoke, and I felt dizzy from it. Or maybe I just wanted to feel the lie one last time. "Stay away from him," he murmured, "or I'll make sure you never see the ice again." And then, just like that, he smiled again. Soft, harmless, as if he hadn't just threatened me. His hand slid up the back of my neck, fingers trembling. He leaned in and pressed a kiss against my pulse point. I shuddered, heat flooding my skin. It had been weeks since we'd made love. Too long. His touch felt like fire, searing through the cold that had settled between us. "Silas," I breathed, but the word came out broken. He kissed me again, tasting, gentle but insistent. His hands wandered, desperate, like he was trying to remind me of who we used to be, of what I was supposed to feel. And I did love him. I loved him so much, it hurt. It hurt so badly. I gasped his name as he guided me back toward the bed. The room tilted, the scent of lavender thick in the air, and I realized then what Luka had meant back at the rink. The storm wasn't coming. It was already here. Chapter 5. Airy. I got sick the last few days. Some cold I couldn't shake, but it was more than that. I felt off after Silas and I made love, and I noticed my birth control was missing. Rain hammered against the windows, turning the world outside into a blur of silver. The apartment smelled like lavender and smoke, Silas's favorite candle, burning low on the counter. The scent was sweet, heavy, and wrong. Silas was sitting across from me, calm again. Too calm. I sat on the couch, still dizzy, my head hot and heavy. I'd missed practice that morning, too sick to move. I hadn't even checked my phone. A knock came at the door. We both looked at each other, and then he got up to answer it, but I smelled Luka's scent almost immediately. My stomach dropped. Silas, don't... But he was already on his feet, gliding across the room like it was his place, not mine. He opened the door with a polite smile, one hand on the frame. Luka stood there, rain dripping from his hair, hoodie soaked through. His eyes swept the room once, landing on me. "You missed practice," he said quietly. "I came to check on you." Silas leaned against the door, still smiling. "How thoughtful," he said. "You always did like fixing broken things." Luka's jaw tightened. "You shouldn't be here." "Why not?" Silas stepped aside, gesturing to the room like a host welcoming a guest. "He's my boyfriend, after all." Luka ignored him and looked straight at me. "You okay?" I nodded, though I wasn't sure I meant it. "I'm fine, just not feeling well." Silas laughed under his breath. "Don't look at him like that, Airy. He's not your alpha." The temperature in the room dropped. Luka snarled. "Who are you to decide that? You need to leave." "Leave? You'd like that, wouldn't you?" Silas tilted his head. "Why? So you can finish what you started years ago?" "Leave!" The word hit the air like thunder. Silas's entire body went rigid. His muscles locked, his breath caught, and for a heartbeat, he stood frozen, caught in the invisible grip of Luka's alpha command. The room crackled with tension. I could feel it in my bones, that pull, the instinct to obey, to submit. But then Silas moved. Slowly, painfully, he straightened, fighting against whatever force held him still. His jaw clenched tight, his throat bobbing as he forced himself to speak. "No." His voice trembled, but he didn't back down. "I said no." My heart pounded. Omegas weren't supposed to resist an alpha's command. It was unnatural, dangerous. And yet, Silas stood there, defying it. Luka's nostrils flared, his voice dropping to a warning growl. "Silas." "You can't use that on me again," Silas said, his tone shaking but certain. "Not after last time." The words hit me hard. I looked between them, my stomach twisting. Again? What did he mean again? Luka's jaw tightened. He looked furious, but beneath the anger, I caught something else, a flicker of guilt, quick and dark. I didn't know what scared me more, Silas's defiance or the fact that Luka had used his alpha command at all. We weren't his Omegas, he had no right to use it. And if anyone from the council found out, he'd face punishment. Severe punishment. The silence that followed was thick and suffocating. It felt like the walls themselves were holding their breath. Luka's expression hardened. "Don't do this." "Ha! You both think I'm so goddamn stupid," Silas said, turning toward me. "He didn't tell you, did he?" "Shut the hell up." Luka's expression didn't change. "Why not?" Silas asked. "He's my boyfriend. Or did you forget that part?" "Ari needs rest, not games." Silas's smile twitched. "Games? Is that what you think this is? Tell him, Ari. Tell him how it's been. Every conversation since you joined the team has been about him. Luka this, Luka that. How you couldn't shut up about him." I flinched. "Silas, stop." "No," he snapped. He turned back to Luka. You want to know why I said yes when you asked me out? Because for once, you noticed me. Luka finally looked at me, and I thought, finally, I mattered. His voice was trembling with something ugly and honest. I was so happy, Ari. You don't understand. I thought I had something real. He nodded me, and I thought it was real. He was my first. But then I realized he only dated me because he had eyes for you. My heart lurched, and I looked at Luka, seeing him for the first time. Luka swallowed, looking ashamed. My wolf, I didn't have a choice. Liar, Silas shrilled. That's why I made that stupid bet with you, Ari. I knew you'd leave me for him eventually. He turned on Luka, tears running down his cheeks now. My best friend. You never liked me. You just wanted him. Luka's jaw tightened. That's not true. Then why do you look at him that way? Silas's laugh came out rough, almost a sob. Because I care about him, Luka said quietly. Because you hurt him. Silas's breathing turned uneven. You stole him from me. No one stole anyone, I said. My skin was hot from the fever, and my vision blurred. You can't steal people, Silas. He looked at me like he didn't recognize me. You don't get it. You were supposed to fix what he broke. You were supposed to make me forget. His hands trembled as he brushed at his face. But you didn't. You just reminded me that everyone leaves. It was just then that I remembered Silas's family. Silas had grown up in a house built on silence. His parents fought in whispers, the kind that cut more than shouting, and when they finally split, they didn't look back. His father moved across the border to start a new pack. His mother found a new mate within weeks. Silas was 14, too young to follow, too old to be wanted. He spent most of high school couch hopping between relatives, learning fast that affection always came with an expiration date. Friends drifted away once they realized how clingy he could be, how much he needed. Every goodbye carved a little deeper, teaching him that love was temporary, that sooner or later, everyone walked out. So when he found me, steady, loyal, constant, he clung hard. Too hard. Because to Silas, love wasn't about trust. It was about survival. The anger drained out of him all at once, leaving something hollow behind. You both ruined me, he whispered. For a moment, none of us spoke. The only sound was the rain against the glass. Silas, it's time to let go, Luka said softly. Silas laughed again. Let go? Of what? I already lost everything. The candle flickered once, then went out, leaving the room in shadow. Luka reached for my hand. Come on, he murmured. I'll take care of you. It's what should have happened from the beginning. You know what this is. Betrayal flickered on Silas's face, and I left with Luka, not looking back. We stepped outside into the storm. The rain hit cold and clean against my skin. Luka didn't let go of my hand. His grip was steady, grounding me as the wind howled around us. This isn't just exhaustion, he said quietly. You're sick because you've been away from your alpha for too long. Omegas get that way. It's pheromonal. The body starts to shut down without its balance. Silas knew it, and he kept you inside anyway. Away from me. His words sank deep, slow and heavy. My chest tightened as the truth settled there. My mate. The word hitched in my throat, too big to swallow. Luka wanted me first. His wolf had claimed me first. But he went for Silas instead. The easier choice, the one that wouldn't hurt as much. Oh God, I breathed. The world tilted. My skin burned hot, my muscles trembling under the cold rain. My body felt strange, like it was remembering something it had been forced to forget. Luka caught me as I stumbled, his arm wrapping around my waist. His scent hit me. Pine, frost, home, and something in me broke open. My wolf whined, low and desperate, pressing toward him. My skin was slick with rain and fever. My heart thudded hard, fast, wild. It's okay. I've got you. Luka's voice came quietly close to my ear, and for the first time I let myself believe him. I used to think alphas were born knowing how to hurt without leaving marks. Every word sweet until you were too deep to climb out. The forest swallowed the last of the highway behind us. Rain blurred the glass, headlights carving tunnels of white through the dark. Luka's hand gripped the wheel hard enough that his knuckles looked bone white. "Stay with me," he said. My head throbbed. The suppressant crash made the air too thin, every breath cutting in my lungs. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere safe." That word again. Safe. It sounded foreign now. When the truck finally slowed, I caught glimpses of wood and light through the trees. The pack house rose out of the rain like something ancient. Logs dark with water, windows burning gold. "Why here?" I whispered. "Because he can't touch you on pack land," Luka said, not without answering to me. The place wasn't what I expected. The pack house wasn't just a house. It was more like a sorority for the Northern Howlers, a sprawling old lodge the university had converted years ago. Most of the team lived here during the season, sharing rooms, meals, and territory. But they were all alphas, every single one of them. Omegas usually stayed in the dorms, where things were quieter and the scent control wards were stronger. It was safer that way. I didn't belong here. Not really. "Luka," I whispered, my throat tight, fear crawling up my spine. "I shouldn't be here." He turned to me, eyes soft but unyielding. "Nobody will touch you," he said. "I promise." There was something about the way he said it, quiet, steady, final, that made me believe him, even when every instinct in me screamed not to. He killed the engine. The rain went quiet against the roof, just soft tapping. I followed him inside on unsteady legs. The first thing that hit me was the scent. It swept through the air like heat, rising off asphalt after rain, dense and alive, curling around every corner of the room. My body wanted to cower and curl, but Luka's scent cut through it, steady and cool, anchoring me. A few heads turned as we stepped into the main room. Conversation stopped. Someone muttered, "The Omega from the scandal." Luka didn't even glance their way. "He's staying." A beta frowned. "Captain, that's..." "Not a discussion," Luka said, tone quiet but final. The silence after that was absolute. He led me up the stairs, boots leaving damp prints on the wooden steps, until we reached the last door in the hall. The room smelled of cedar and rain, small, clean. A bed, a dresser, nothing else. "You'll stay here," he said. "Bathroom's down the hall. If anyone gives you trouble, you tell me." I dropped my bag near the bed. "Why are you doing this?" He paused in the doorway. "Because no one did it for me when I needed it." Something fragile broke inside me then, quietly, like ice underfoot. Maybe that's why I stayed with Silas so long, two Omegas trying to love each other without fear. It was supposed to be safe. It was supposed to be different. "Luka," I started, but he was already halfway down the hall. "Lock the door," he called back. "You'll sleep easier." I woke sometime before dawn to the smell of coffee. The fever had eased, leaving me hollow but clear. Downstairs, Luka stood at the stove, sleeves rolled up, cooking like he'd done it 1,000 times. The kitchen was quiet except for the soft hiss of butter in the pan. "You didn't have to," I said. He poured 2 mugs and slid one toward me. "Yeah, I did." We ate in silence. For once, silence didn't feel like punishment. Finally, he said, "Silas filed a complaint with the council." My stomach twisted. "Already?" "He's good at moving fast. He'll spin it until it sticks." Luka's eyes stayed on the window. "He wants me suspended. You. Discredited. It's done." I gripped the edge of the table. "You're sure?" "I know him." He looked up then, the calm in his gaze barely covering the fury underneath. "He doesn't stop until someone bleeds." "What do we do?" "We don't give him what he wants." "And what's that?" Luka's jaw eased. "Us. Falling apart." The answer was so simple it hurt. The question was why. What did I do for him to hate me so much? If Luka liked me first, so what? That didn't have to mean anything. I'd sworn off all alphas by then. I told myself I'd never let one close again, not after everything. Silas and I were supposed to be different, two omegas against the world. We promised to claim each other, to build something safe and steady out of the wreckage the alphas left behind. So why was he doing this now? Why was he the one tearing me apart? Was it me he was really after? Or was this all still about Luka? I stared at him, at his too handsome face, the faint flush in his cheeks, the soft pink of his full lips. His hazel eyes caught the light, warm, deep, the color of autumn leaves, and I couldn't tell anymore if I was looking at the boy I loved or the stranger who was breaking me. He slid a small brass key across the counter. For your room. Lock it if you need to, but if you wake up scared, knock. I took the key. My fingers brushed his. For the first time in weeks, the air didn't feel like it was closing in. By the second day, my fever had finally broken, but my pride hadn't recovered. Every time a pack member walked past me in the hall, I felt their eyes on my back. Some looked curious, others wary, like they were trying to decide if I was a scandal or a stray. I was unpacking in my room when someone knocked. "Door's open," I called. Luka leaned against the frame, wearing a faded black t-shirt and sweatpants. Somehow, that was more intimidating than his captain's uniform. "You look alive," he said. "Define alive. Not bleeding, not crying, upright, close enough." I laughed despite myself. "You make recovery sound so glamorous." He stepped inside and set a small tray on the dresser, grilled cheese and soup. "You didn't eat breakfast." I blinked. "You cooked again?" "Relax, I can handle more than hockey." "Yeah, but do you cook for everyone or just the half-dead?" He hesitated, and actually flushed, before muttering, "Just you." I froze, spoon halfway to my mouth. "Wait, what?" Luka ran a hand through his hair, looking everywhere but at me. "Forget it. I just meant you're new. It's polite." "Uh-huh." I grinned, leaning back on my elbows. "You're blushing." "I'm not." "You absolutely are." He gave a quiet groan. "You're insufferable when you're conscious." "Then you liked me better half dead?" "Maybe a little." For the first time in months, I laughed. Really laughed. And the sound startled both of us. The tension cracked like ice, replaced with something softer. When I finally stopped, I said, "You didn't have to bring me food." "I wanted to," he admitted. "You look better when you eat." I rolled my eyes. "Is that your version of flirting?" He opened his mouth, then stopped, realizing too late he'd walked right into it. And then quietly, almost sheepishly, "You'd be surprised how long I've been out of practice." That threw me. "You? You could probably have half the pack lined up." He shrugged. "Not interested." "Why not?" He hesitated, eyes dropping to the floor. "Because the one person I wanted already belonged to someone else." Something in his tone changed the air between us. "Who?" I asked before I could stop myself. His lips twitched, the faintest ghost of a smile. "You." I froze. "Me?" "Yeah." He rubbed the back of his neck, avoiding my eyes completely. "Last season, before Silas, you joined the Howlers as a rookie. You used to wear that stupid old jersey, 2 sizes too big. You'd stay after practice to clean the gear. Always said you didn't mind." I stared. Yeah, I remember." He looked up, finally meeting my gaze. "I told Silas I liked you. That you had guts. That I thought maybe—" He stopped, voice catching, then exhaled slowly. "And 2 weeks later, he asked you out." The words hit like a body check. "You're saying he only wanted me because you did?" Luka's jaw tightened. "Silas doesn't chase unless there's a prize involved." I sat there stunned. The last 3 years, every kiss, every argument, every time Silas had said mine, it all rewrote itself in my head, ugly and new. My laugh came out brittle. "So I wasn't even a choice. I was a trophy." Luka's face softened immediately. "Hey, don't do that. You weren't—" "I was," I said. "You just didn't mean to tell me." He sighed, stepping closer. He saw how I looked at you. He couldn't stand it. That's who he is. And who are you? I whispered. For a second, neither of us moved. Then, quietly, Luka said, "The idiot who still looks at you the same way." That silence again, heavy and impossible, electric. I turned away first, my heart racing. You should go before the pack starts gossiping. They already are, he said, smiling faintly. Might as well give them a show. Luka. Fine, fine. He backed toward the door, still smirking. But you're laughing again. I'll take that as a win. And he left, leaving me with a warm plate of food, a head full of questions, and a truth I couldn't unhear. That evening, as I sat by the window, I caught a glimpse of him outside, training the younger wolves, laughing in a way I'd never seen before. And for the first time, I wondered what my life might have looked like if he'd said something sooner. Chapter 6. Ari. Someone was tampering with my birth control. I stared at the pill package. It should have been empty by now, but it wasn't. Months and months of doses were still there, untouched, perfectly sealed in the packaging. My stomach dropped. It didn't make sense. What was Silas doing? My hands trembled as I reached for my suppressants, fumbling with the bottles. The seals were loose, the scents wrong, off somehow. My chest tightened, panic rising. What's wrong? Luka's voice came from the doorway. I looked up, unable to speak. He crossed the room quickly, his presence grounding, his scent cutting through the haze of fear that filled the air. Now, fear crawled up my spine as tears burned my eyes. Why would he do this to me? It just didn't make sense. I loved him. He loved me. Or I thought he did. Why would he try to? I just joined the team, I whispered, voice breaking. Why would he? The tears finally came, hot and uncontrollable. Luka caught my hands before I could crumble. You're okay, he said. His alpha tone settled over me like a blanket. I'm here. He glanced at the pills, then at the bottles, frowning. What happened? I showed him, the full birth control package, the full suppressant bottles. His eyes darkened. How? He murmured, then paused. His jaw tightened. The candles. What? I asked. The lavender ones, he said. They weren't just candles, Ari. Omegas are scent sensitive. Too much exposure to a suppressant blend can dull the body's instincts, mask heat cycles, slow pheromone release, confuse hormone patterns. If he infused your dorm with it long enough, it could trick your system into thinking you didn't need the pills. It would keep you compliant. Calm. I felt sick. He drugged me? He manipulated your biology. It's worse than drugs. It's scent control. He used those candles to keep you quiet, to stop your body from reacting, from feeling. I stared down at the pills again, hands shaking. Everything clicked into place. The foggy mornings, the headaches, the way my body never felt right, never felt mine. He'd done this on purpose. Luka's hand tightened around mine. He wanted to break your instincts, he said quietly. But he didn't. You're still here. You fought your way out. I nodded weakly, the words barely a whisper. But at what cost? Luka's jaw tightened as he stared at the bottles and the untouched pill pack. For a moment, his eyes flashed gold, the alpha just beneath the surface. We need those candles, he said. All of them. They're evidence now. If Silas used scent suppression to manipulate your cycle, the council needs to see it. It's not just misconduct. It's biological interference. That's a crime, Ari. I felt my stomach twist. Evidence, I repeated weakly. The word didn't feel real. He touched my arm gently. We'll go back tomorrow. I'll handle it. For now, you need to rest. I can't, I said. Every time I close my eyes, I see... I know. Luka's voice softened. You're safe here. I promise. He stood and left for a moment. When he came back, he carried a steaming mug. The smell hit me first chamomile and pine bark. Drink, he said. It'll help with the fever. I took it with both hands, still trembling. The warmth seeped into my skin, chasing the chill out of my bones. Luka stayed beside me the whole time, quiet, his presence filling the small room with something solid and safe. When the cup was empty, he pulled the blanket higher over me. "Sleep," he murmured. "I'll keep watch." The words sank into me like warmth spreading through cold water. My breathing slowed. The pounding in my head eased. The last thing I felt before sleep claimed me was Luka's scent. Pine, frost, safety, settling over me like a shield. By the time my eyes drifted shut, the fever had broken. And for the first time in weeks, I slept without dreaming of lavender. I found Luka out on the rink behind the pack house. The moon hung low and bright above him, its reflection scattered across the ice like broken glass. The rest of the world was quiet. Even the wolves had gone still. Only the sound of his stick striking the puck broke the silence, sharp, steady, unrelenting. He moved with a kind of precision that didn't look practiced anymore. It looked instinctive, like every muscle in his body remembered what it was to fight and refused to stop. His breath came in quick bursts, misting the air, and sweat clung to his skin despite the cold. For a moment, I just watched him. The rink lights washed over his face, carving shadows beneath his eyes. He didn't look like someone training. He looked like someone running from something he couldn't outrun. I leaned against the boards, arms folded. "You know, most people cope by sleeping." He glanced over, breath fogging in the cold. "You know, most people listen when I say I'm fine." "Yeah, well, I've seen what your version of fine looks like. It's exhausting just watching it." That earned a quiet huff of laughter. He slowed, skating to a stop in front of me. "Can't argue with that." I smiled, but it faded when I saw the look in his eyes. The kind that said he'd been replaying something over and over in his head. "What is it?" I asked softly. Luka rested his stick against the boards, leaning on it. "He tried to bond me once." I froze. "Silas?" He nodded. "The night before I left him. He said if I just gave in, everything would make sense. That Omegas weren't meant to be alone." Luka's voice was bitter. "He wanted to make it sound like love." My chest tightened. "And you stopped him." "I did. But I should have stopped him sooner. I knew what he was capable of, and I still thought he'd change." His jaw clenched. "When I saw him with you after, I told myself he'd finally found what he needed." The truth sank in like a stone. "He didn't, did he?" "No. He just found someone who reminded him of what he'd lost." The air between us felt heavier then. I thought about the way Silas used to watch Luka at practice, the hardness in his gaze when Luka laughed with someone else. I hadn't wanted to see it before, but now I did. "He used me to keep you close," I said quietly. Luka met my eyes. "He used both of us." I didn't know what to say to that. My heart was beating too fast, my hands trembling slightly in the cold. For a long moment, we just stood there in silence, breath mingling in the frost. Then Luka stepped closer now, rough around the edges. "I told you I liked you before he did, right?" I blinked. "You what?" He gave a faint, embarrassed laugh. "Yeah, told him you were gutsy, that I thought you'd be something special. 2 weeks later, you were dating him." "Wait, so he..." The realization hit hard. "He only went after me because you wanted me first." Luka's expression turned rueful. "You didn't deserve to be part of that." "None of us did," I said softly. Something cracked open between us then. All the tension, all the restraint, dissolving under the weight of understanding. When Luka reached out, his hand brushed my cheek, warm despite the cold. "You should get inside," he murmured. "I don't want to," I whispered back. His eyes flicked to my mouth, then back up to mine. "Ari." "Don't," I said. "Don't tell me you don't want to." That small, humorless smile touched his lips again. "I never said I didn't." Luka leaned in slowly, giving me time to stop him if I wanted to. I didn't. His hands reached up and grabbed the front of my shirt, pulling me closer. I could feel the rough fabric of his shirt under my fingers as I fisted it tightly, my back pressed against the cool wall behind me. Our lips met in a rush, and I could feel his tongue gently touching mine. It was warm and a little wet, but it felt nice. I let my tongue move with his, like they were dancing together. My heart was beating fast and I could hear it in my ears. We stayed like that for a moment, just kissing and holding each other close. Then, Luka pulled back just a little, his forehead resting against mine. We were both breathing hard, and I could feel his breath on my face. "This isn't a mistake," he said softly. "I know," I whispered back, smiling a little. It felt good being close to him like this. It was like a secret just between the two of us. The phone buzzed across the counter. Mom. I hesitated before answering, still sore from practice, my head pounding from too little sleep. "Hey," I said, trying to sound normal. "Ari, I need you to listen to me. You have to stop Luka from fighting this thing." I froze. "What thing?" "The misconduct accusations," she said. "He's only making it worse. You can't defend him. Not after what Silas told me." A chill ran down my spine. "You talked to Silas?" "He reached out," she said quickly. "He's scared, sweetheart. He told me everything. About Luka, what he did." My chest went tight. "Mom, no." "He's lying. Luka would never." "There are pictures, Ari," she interrupted. "Evidence. People saw the bruises. They heard Luka use his alpha command on him, in public. You know how dangerous that is. Silas said he was terrified, that Luka cornered him." I pressed a hand to my forehead, the room spinning slightly. "That doesn't make sense," I said. "I was there. Luka, he doesn't even—" "Please," she whispered. "Don't get dragged into this. I know you care about him, but this isn't your fight. I don't want you caught in the middle when the council comes down on him. They'll take everyone with him if they have to." I couldn't answer. The words stuck in my throat. Pictures, evidence, bruises. It couldn't be true, it just couldn't. But something ugly twisted in my stomach anyway. The smallest seed of doubt took root. And no matter how much I wanted to trust Luka, I couldn't stop seeing those bruises in my mind. The rumors spread faster than the truth ever could. By dawn, the headlines were everywhere. "Captain Ward under investigation for alpha misconduct. Former partner alleges emotional manipulation and intimidation. Omega rookie found living with suspended team captain." My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Every few seconds, another notification popped up. Articles, gossip threads, half the pack arguing in comment sections like they knew us. I scrolled until the words blurred, until Luka plucked the phone from my hand and set it face down on the counter. "Stop reading it," he said quietly. "I need to know what they're saying." "They're saying what he wants them to," Luka replied. "You already know that story." Theo knocked on the door, and when we looked at him, he didn't speak right away. He just stood there for a moment like he was trying to find the right words. His dark blonde hair was messy, still damp from a shower, and his gray eyes looked tired like he hadn't slept in days. He was tall and broad-shouldered, built like a wall. He wasn't just another player. Theo was Luka's right wing and his closest friend, the kind of person who noticed everything and said very little. His uncle worked on the regional shifter council, which meant Theo often knew about things before anyone else did. Then he finally spoke. Councils called a meeting. Noon sharp. The words made the air go still. Luka didn't say anything, but I could see his hands tighten at his sides. Everyone knew what it meant when the council called a meeting. It wasn't just about hockey anymore. It was about Luka's place in the pack. Of course they did. Luka didn't react. He didn't even look surprised. "He's not just filing a complaint anymore," Theo continued. "He's made this official. He's calling it emotional coercion and abuse of dominance. He's got screenshots, statements, enough noise to get the media sniffing around." My stomach turned. "That's a lie." Theo looked at me with the kind of pity that felt worse than anger. "Truth doesn't matter once people decide what sounds good." He's trying to provoke a reaction. He wants me angry, defensive. He's counting on it. Theo shook his head. Then you'd better be made of stone because this is going to get ugly. He left us there, and for a while the only sound was the clock ticking over the sink. Luka leaned back against the counter, his arms folded, the calm in his body language at complete odds with the storm brewing outside. He's trying to ruin you, I said finally. Luka's gaze found mine. He already tried that once. He'll fail again. He's saying you manipulated me. Did I? He asked. The question hit harder than I expected. No, of course not. Then say that when they ask. I swallowed hard. You think they'll believe me? No, he said simply. But you'll have said it, and that matters. The council meeting felt like walking into a courtroom I didn't remember being summoned to. The hall smelled of old wood and authority, the air heavy with expectation. The long table at the center was lined with pack elders, coaches, and a few faces from the team. Whispers rippled as we entered, and I felt every single one of them slide across my skin. Silas sat near the front. He looked impeccable in white, eyes rimmed red as if he'd been crying. His posture was delicate, practiced, like a saint painted for pity. When he finally turned, his eyes met mine, soft and mournful. It almost worked. Almost. The head elder cleared his throat. Captain Ward, you stand accused of violating Pack Code Section 5, improper exertion of dominance toward a bonded Omega and undue influence over a subordinate. Do you wish to respond? Luka stood tall. Yes, I didn't. That earned a few low murmurs. The elder adjusted his glasses. Care to elaborate? I never hurt him, Luka said evenly. Not physically, not emotionally. The only mistake I made was believing his version of love was something I could fix. A few people shifted uncomfortably. Silas let out a fragile breath, the perfect sound of heartbreak. He's lying, he said softly. He promised to protect me. Then he left. When I tried to move on, he made sure I couldn't. You don't know what he's like when you tell him no. I felt something in me snap. That's not true, I said, my voice louder than I meant it to be. The entire room turned toward me. Even Luka looked startled. Silas's expression changed almost imperceptibly, just a flicker of calculation, before he painted over it with hurt. Ari, he whispered, trembling. You don't have to defend him. I know he... Don't call me that, I cut in. My pulse roared in my ears. You don't get to talk to me like we're still together. You lied to everyone here. Luka never liked you. You're just mad about it. Did you tell them how you cheated on me? How you tampered with my medication? How you made me believe I couldn't survive without you? And now you're trying to destroy the only person who actually saved me. A gasp went through the room. Someone dropped a pen. For a split second, even Silas looked stunned, like he hadn't expected me to bleed in public. Then he smiled, a small pitying thing. He's gotten to you too, Silas murmured. That's what he does. I'm willing to swear before the court. You son of a... Enough. The elder's gavel struck the table once. Enough. We'll investigate further. Until then, Captain Ward remains suspended. Just like that, it was over. The decision was postponed, the damage permanent. Outside, the sky had turned gray again. We walked in silence to the parking lot, the gravel crunching under our boots. Luka didn't speak until we reached the truck. You didn't have to do that, he said finally. I wanted to. He looked at me then, a muscle ticking in his jaw. You just made yourself a target. I was already one. He laughed softly, the sound low and tired, and some of the weight in his shoulders seemed to fade. Yeah, he murmured. But now you're mine too. Before I could answer, he leaned in. The kiss was slow and careful, like he was afraid I might break. His lips were warm, his scent grounding, and for a heartbeat, everything else fell away. All the noise, the fear, the lies, gone. There was only him. Chapter 7. Ari. The pack house was too quiet when we returned from the council meeting. That kind of silence wasn't peace. It was the kind that happens right before something breaks. The elders had postponed their decision. Luka was suspended indefinitely. And me? I was radioactive. No one said it outright, but I could feel it. Wolves who used to nod or smile now slipped away the moment I entered a room. Even the betas who respected Luka wouldn't meet his eyes. The entire pack was holding its breath, waiting to see which version of the story would win. Silas's trembling innocence or Luka's stubborn silence. Dinner that night was unbearable. The room was full, yet no one spoke. Forks scraped plates, chairs creaked, and whispers died as soon as we walked in. Luka ate in silence, gaze fixed straight ahead, the picture of control. But I could feel the tension in him, the small tremor in his wrist each time he lifted his glass, the way his jaw tightened every time someone looked our way. When I couldn't stand it anymore, I pushed my chair back. I need air. He followed me outside. The night was cool, the forest breathing around us, the moon like a watchful eye overhead. You did well today, he said quietly. Did I? I laughed bitterly. Half of them still think I'm the idiot Omega who doesn't know he's being manipulated. They'll come around. I turned toward him, frustrated. You really believe that? He didn't answer. He didn't have to. His silence said enough. We stood there for a while, both too tired to keep pretending the world hadn't already chosen sides. Then the door behind us opened. The change in the air was instant and electric. Silas stood there. He looked pale, fragile, the picture of heartbreak in soft gray clothes. His hands were clasped protectively over his stomach. Luka, he said softly. Ari. My heart dropped. What are you doing here? I needed to see you. His voice trembled just enough to sound sincere. They won't let me rest until I speak to both of you. Luka's tone was ice. You shouldn't be here. I have every right to be, Silas said, stepping closer. Especially now. He hesitated, lowering his gaze before letting out a shaky breath. I didn't plan to say this like this, but I'm pregnant. The words hit like a physical blow. My stomach turned. Luka froze. For a long moment, no one moved. Finally, Luka spoke. Whose is it? Silas looked up, eyes wide with hurt. Does it matter? Yeah, Luka said, deadly calm. It does. Silas's lip trembled. I don't know. I thought maybe. He stopped, as if catching himself. I just thought you both deserved to know. It was a masterclass in performance. Every pause, every quiver, every half-swallowed word meant to sound accidental, but perfectly rehearsed. I took a step back, heat rising to my face. You're lying. Silas turned to me, his expression softening. Ari, please. You know me better than that. Yeah, I said. That's the problem. Luka moved before I could, positioning himself slightly in front of me, not quite shielding, but close. Leave, he said. Now. For the first time, something flickered in Silas's eyes. You always did like playing the hero, he whispered, but you can't save him from what's already been done. Then he turned and walked away, his scent lingering behind. Sweet, cloying, and poisoned. When the door shut, I realized I was shaking. Luka turned to me. Don't believe it. I don't, I said quickly, but my voice wasn't steady. He's using this to trap me. To trap both of us. I forced a laugh, but it cracked halfway through. And if it's true? It's not. He said it so firmly that for a second I almost believed him. Almost. But that night, long after everyone had gone to bed, I lay awake listening to the forest wind and wondering how much more Silas could take from us before there was nothing left. By the next morning, the pack house no longer felt like home. It felt like a cage. The news of Silas's pregnancy spread faster than wildfire. Half the pack pitied him. The other half whispered that Luka had finally gone too far. Wolves who'd once fought beside him on the ice now refused to meet his eyes. Even the younger Omegas had started avoiding me, their sense with judgment and fear. Every corner of the house seemed to hum with suspicion. The walls listened. The floors creaked under footsteps that never lingered. When I walked into the training room, 2 betas went quiet, mid-conversation. I heard one mutter, "Doesn't even look guilty." Luka entered seconds later. The entire room stilled. His presence still carried weight, alpha weight, but it no longer commanded respect, only wariness. "Warm-up drills," he said shortly. "Now." No one moved at first. Then one by one they obeyed, but slower than usual. The rhythm was off. The air was thick. I could see it, the fracture lines forming in what used to be a family. Halfway through the scrimmage, Theo skated up beside me. "You should get off the ice," he muttered. "Why?" "Because the others are looking at you like you're a target," he said under his breath. "And I don't trust all of them to play clean." He was right. Every check came harder than it needed to. Every pass aimed just slightly too high. I could feel Luka's eyes on me from across the rink, but even he couldn't stop the quiet rebellion rising beneath him. It all snapped when one of the defensemen, a hulking wolf named Marek, slammed me against the boards after the whistle. My breath caught, pain sparking through my ribs. "Sorry," Marek said with a smirk that didn't reach his eyes. Luka's stick hit the ice with a crack. "Bench." "Now." Marek didn't move. "Or what?" The rink went silent. "Aren't you suspended?" "Why are you even on the ice?" Luka stepped forward slowly, the kind of slow that made the hair rise on the back of my neck. "You want to find out?" For a second I thought Marek would push it, then wisely he backed down. Practice ended early after that. No one complained. When the others left, I sat on the bench, nursing my bruised shoulder. "You can't keep defending me," I said quietly. "Yes, I can," Luka said. "They'll turn on you too." He crouched in front of me. "They already have." The words hung there. "What are we going to do?" I asked. His gaze flicked to the doors. "We hold the line until we can prove he's lying. There's no other way." "Prove it how?" "Blood test. Council mandated. He'll never agree to it, but once he refuses, they'll know." I nodded slowly, though part of me wondered how long that would take, and how much damage Silas could do before then. That night, the pack house was restless. Doors slammed. Voices rose and fell. Rumors changed shape with every telling. I couldn't sleep. The tension pressed against my chest like a weight. I finally gave up and went downstairs for water, only to stop short halfway down the hall. "Don't know how long we can cover for him," someone hissed. It was Theo. "Silas is already rallying the council against us," another voice said. "If the blood test doesn't happen soon, Luka's finished." A third voice, calm, familiar, cut in. "Maybe that's the point." Silas. My blood went cold. I leaned closer to the wall, heart pounding. Silas's tone was soft, almost gentle. "He thinks I won't fight back. He forgets I learned from him. They'll strip him of his captaincy by the end of the week. And then, a pause. Then he'll have nothing left to protect." Theo swore under his breath. "You're playing with fire, Silas." "Fire's the only thing that gets their attention." The sound of footsteps made me back away fast. I slipped into the nearest side corridor just as the door opened. Silas stepped out, his expression smooth and composed, as if he hadn't just promised to destroy someone's life. He stopped when he saw me. His smile was slow, knowing. "Can't sleep either?" My pulse roared in my ears. "You were never pregnant, were you?" He tilted his head, amused. "Wouldn't you like to know?" I wanted to hit him. Instead, I said, "You won't win." He took a step closer. "Oh, sweetheart, I already have." His scent hit me then, sugar-sweet, cloying, familiar, and for a second I felt dizzy, like my body remembered things my mind wanted to forget. "Get away from him." Luka's voice broke the spell. Silas turned unbothered. "Captain!" Luka's expression was pure steel. "Leave. Now." Silas smiled faintly. "You should really be careful how you talk to the father of your..." Don't, Luka snarled. Stay the hell away from us. Silas's smile widened. See you soon. He brushed past me, his shoulder grazing mine, and disappeared into the dark. Luka stepped closer, eyes still locked on the door. Are you okay? He was talking to Theo, and he learned about the blood test. Did you tell Theo? Luka sighed and nodded. His uncle is a councilman, he'd know what to do. He's lying. I know he is. He is, Luka said. But now it's not about truth anymore. It's about who people want to believe. What happens when they stop believing us? He looked at me then, really looked, and something in his eyes shifted. The calm was gone, replaced by quiet fury. Then we make them remember why they shouldn't underestimate us. And for the first time, I saw what scared Silas most. Not Luka's strength, not his power. It was what the two of us could become together when we finally stopped running. By the next morning, something in me had snapped. Sleep hadn't helped. Food didn't help. Nothing could drown out Silas's smug voice echoing in my head. Oh, sweetheart, I already have. I couldn't take it anymore. The rumors, the pity, the lies. The way he stood there with that fake fragility and weaponized it like a knife. So I went looking for proof. Theo had mentioned that Silas was still staying in the dorms near the old team housing. I waited until midday practice cleared, then walked straight across campus, heart hammering, hands shaking. The hallway outside his room smelled like lavender and sanitizer. Too clean, too rehearsed. I knocked once. No answer. The door wasn't locked. Inside, the space was neat, unnervingly so. Bed made, lights low, everything aligned by color. It was all so Silas. But the perfection cracked when I opened his desk drawer. 3 empty bottles of wine, half a used strip of birth control pills. And there, tucked beside a folded sweater, my missing suppressant bottles. I froze. My mind couldn't catch up with what my eyes saw. The same suppressants he'd sworn he hadn't touched. The ones I'd accused myself of misplacing. The ones that had left me half delirious the night Luka found me. My stomach turned cold. Something inside me went white hot. All the humiliation, confusion, guilt, it all funneled into one pure, trembling rage. By the time Silas walked in, I was standing in the middle of the room, holding the birth control in one hand and the suppressants in the other. He froze in the doorway, surprise flashing for just a second before the mask slipped back into place. Ari, what are you doing here? What am I doing here? My voice shook too loud. You really want to ask me that? He sighed softly, setting his bag down. You shouldn't go through people's things. That's not... I threw the birth control across the room. It hit the wall, scattering pills across the floor like white beads. You're not pregnant. Silas blinked, expression carefully blank. Ari, please. Don't, I snapped. Don't you dare. You stole from me. You took my suppressants, tampered with my birth control, my choices, my reputation, and you tried to ruin the one person who actually cared about me. The words came tumbling out, raw and shaking, and I didn't even care that people had started to gather in the hallway. I wanted him to feel it. Every ounce of it. Silas's voice stayed calm. Too calm. You're overreacting. Overreacting? I laughed bitterly. You lied to everyone. You stood there pretending to be the victim while holding my medication in your drawer. He glanced toward the doorway, eyes flicking to the onlookers. Ari, please, let's not do this here. No, I shouted. Right here. Right now. I'm done letting you control when the truth gets told. Ari. Luka was suddenly there, pushing through the crowd. He looked from me to Silas to the mess of pills on the floor, and in that moment, he didn't need to ask. He already knew. I was shaking so hard I could barely breathe. He lied, Luka. About everything. I know. Luka's hand found my shoulder, warm and steady. No, you don't. My voice cracked, all the fury breaking into something rawer. He made me think I was crazy. He made me think I needed him. Silas said nothing now. His face had gone pale, eyes darting toward the witnesses in the doorway. His silence spoke louder than any defense could. Luka turned to him. "You should leave before I stop caring about the council's rules." "Are you kidding me? This is my dorm room." "And? Don't make me throw you out of it." Silas swallowed, jaw twitching, but he didn't argue. He simply gathered what dignity he could and brushed past me, head held high even as whispers followed him down the hall. The door slammed. For a long moment, all I could do was stand there, shaking. The world felt too loud, too bright. Then Luka's hand was on my back, firm and grounding. "Hey," he said quietly. "It's over." I turned to him, voice barely a whisper. "I don't even know who I am without him." His expression softened. "You're someone who finally stopped letting him define you." That was it. The dam broke. I reached for him and he caught me, his arms firm around my waist. The heat of him bled through the thin space between us, steady and certain, his scent wrapping around me like smoke and rain. When his lips met mine, the world went quiet. They were soft, warm, and smooth, like honey melting on my tongue. The taste of him was sweet, and something achingly familiar, something that felt like home. I sank into him, into the way his hand cupped the back of my neck, the way he kissed me deeper, but never rough, never rushed. It wasn't a claim or a demand. It was a surrender, the kind that made my chest ache in the best possible way. When we finally pulled apart, Luka's forehead rested against mine. "It's done," he murmured. I nodded, tears burning hot in my eyes. "Yeah, it's done." And for the first time, I actually believed it. It turned out justice didn't come with a bang. It came with paperwork. 2 days after the confrontation in Silas's dorm, Luka filed his charges: defamation, harassment, theft, and false claims of pregnancy, backed by the very evidence I'd pulled from that drawer. The council tried to stall, tried to hush it up, but the truth moved faster than their politics. Silas didn't show his face again, not at the rink and not at the council house. Word was he'd withdrawn from the school. Some said exile, others said shame. Either way, he was gone. And for the first time in months, I could finally breathe. 3 months later, I was back to playing the one game that meant the world to me. The score glowed bright and final on the board: Northern Howlers 4, visiting Team 3. The crowd was a wall of noise, chanting, stomping, and throwing anything they could grab onto the ice. My chest burned with exhaustion and pride. Every muscle screamed, every breath cinched my lungs, but we'd done it. We'd won. Luka found me at center ice, helmet in one hand, grin breaking across his face like sunlight through storm clouds. His eyes caught mine, warm gold under the rink lights, and for a heartbeat, everything fell away. There was only him, the smell of ice and sweat, the sound of our names tangled in the roar of the crowd. He reached for me first. His gloves brushed mine, his touch grounding and certain. The rest of the team swarmed us, shouting, hugging, pounding their sticks against the boards. Someone poured a water bottle over Luka's head, and he laughed, shaking it off like it was nothing. When the noise finally dipped, he leaned closer, his breath warm against my ear. "Come home with me," he said. I blinked, my heart still racing. "Home?" He nodded once, still smiling. "To meet my family. They'll want to know who helped me find my way back." For a second, I couldn't breathe. Luka Ward didn't invite people into his world. He didn't have to. But now he was looking at me with something soft in his eyes, something open, and I knew this wasn't just about the win. It was about starting over. The team kept celebrating behind us, but the noise faded until there was nothing left. No crowd, no flashing lights, no sound at all. Just Luka. His thumb brushed my jaw, slow and certain, and I leaned into his touch before I even realized I was moving. He tilted my chin up, his breath warm against my lips. The space between us vanished, and the kiss hit me hard. It was sweet and dizzying, like biting into summer fruit that burst with too much flavor to breathe. My thoughts scattered, slipping away one by one until there was only the feel of him. His mouth tasted like salt and heat, his tongue coaxing mine, his hand sliding to the back of my neck. The world tilted. My knees nearly gave out. I clutched at his jersey, needing something to hold on to, needing him. Every pulse, every heartbeat, every breath tangled together until I couldn't tell where I ended, and he began. It wasn't a kiss that asked, it was a kiss that claimed. But the cheers around us made me flush, and I pulled back. "We did it," I breathed. He smiled wider. "Yeah," he murmured. "We did." Yeah, so maybe my life wasn't perfect. But I'd found an alpha I could call mine. There was still so much to learn about Luka, and I was glad for all of it. He pulled me into his arms, and I hugged him back, breathing in his scent. For a moment, everything felt right. But as I rested against his chest, a small thought tugged at the edge of my mind. My heat hadn't come this month, and I couldn't understand why that bothered me so much.
Epilogue. Luka. The world felt quiet again. For the first time in months, I could breathe without bracing for impact. Silas was gone, formally exiled by the council, his name stripped from every record, his lies finally buried under the truth. The Howlers had reclaimed their title, the pack house was at peace, and Ari was mine. But Christmas would be different. My parents were their own kind of storm. My father used to be a musician, but he never learned how to let the stage go. Some nights, I'd still hear him singing to ghosts of old songs, his voice slurred with whiskey and memory. My mother had been a model once, still beautiful in the way fading light is beautiful, soft and glowing, but gone too soon. She loved gin, loud music, and getting the last word. They fought like animals. Together they were smoke and old arguments that never really ended. I drove back from practice with the windows down, the late sunlight spilling gold across the pines. The radio played softly, the hum of the tires steady beneath it. Every problem that had haunted me felt like it had finally been solved. When I pulled into the driveway, Theo was waiting on the porch, leaning against the railing with his arms crossed. There was something ugly in his expression, like this wasn't over yet. "You look too serious for someone who just won a game," I said, climbing out of the truck. Theo didn't smile. "There's something on your dresser," he said. "An envelope. No return name. It smells off." My stomach tensed. "From who?" "Didn't touch it," he replied, "but it wasn't there this morning." A cold weight settled low in my gut. "Thanks," I murmured, already heading inside. The pack house was quiet. The halls were empty, the air still and heavy. I climbed the stairs slowly, every step creaking under my boots. The envelope sat exactly where Theo said it would, centered on the dark wood of my dresser, pale against the grain. No handwriting, no mark, just my name, printed cleanly in the corner, Luka Ward. For a long time I just stood there staring at it. Every instinct in me, the alpha, the athlete, the man who'd learned too late how easily trust could turn into a weapon, told me to burn it. But curiosity is a dangerous thing. I slid a finger under the seal. Inside was a single white object wrapped in tissue paper. I unfolded it slowly, breath-catching when I saw what it was. A pregnancy test. Positive. Fresh. My heartbeat turned heavy, slow, too loud. I looked toward the window automatically, at the distant line of pines swaying in the fading light. The sun dipped lower, shadows stretching long across the room like reaching fingers. I didn't move. I couldn't. I just stood there, the test balanced in my palm, the faint pink lines staring back like a pair of eyes. Then something hit me. Faint at first, but undeniable. A scent. Sweet. Familiar. Lavender. Silas. The envelope slipped from my hand and hit the floor. The silence in the room grew thick, pressing in from all sides. My chest ached with every breath. It was impossible. Silas was on birth control. We'd all known that. But birth control wasn't perfect, especially for Omegas. It could fail if they were close to heat, when instincts overpowered reason and the body stopped listening to logic. That night in the summer came back to me like a bruise that wouldn't fade. Silas had come to me shaking, eyes glassy, begging for help, saying he couldn't stand the heat anymore. I hadn't meant for it to happen. I just wanted to help. But when he pressed against me, desperate and trembling, instinct had taken over. I never told Ari about that night. I couldn't. Shame burned every time I thought about it. What he'd think, what he'd say, if he knew how easily I'd fallen for Silas's need. And for the first time in weeks, I felt the walls of the pack house closing in around me. The air grew colder, heavier, until it was hard to breathe. The scent lingered, and I realized, too late, that maybe Silas hadn't been gone after all. End Part 1.